This takes a while. Is it going? There we go. There's always going to be that awkward beginning. Are there people in the chat right now? I'll wait and see if people respond. I should tweet about it being live, so people know that we're ready to go to Modelland. And we're live. Boop. Hey, it's people in the chat. What up? Hello. Hey, it's your boy Alice Mize here with some more Modelland. You guys excited? I know I am. I hope everyone is having a wonderful May. It's been a little bit since we did the last one. I was waiting till I had some free time. I just finished my video on Tuvix, the episode Tuvix. Gonna be working on a new movie Nights after that, that I filmed with Phelan. It's another Mary-Kate and Ashley triple feature. It's the return. I'm very excited about that, but it's gonna be a little long. All right. Well, let's not prolong this. Everyone wants to see... Oh, I have a super chat from Cyborg Cable. A little emoji sticker. It says, hey, you. Hey. Thank you. All right. I know everyone was very excited. Let's see how much I've retained from what we read before. So we're on chapter 4 now. The first few chapters, our main character, Tookie de la Creme, she was laying on the floor in her school and talking about how everyone ignored her, and then she chased Button into a trash can, and then she went home. No, first she met her friend who lives in a tree, who's like escaped from a mental institution and steals clothes and stuff, and then she found out the popular girl is poor secretly, and then she went home to her family, which is kind of abusive. So here's something that you guys should know about this, if this is your first time in a Modelland live reading stream. This book does have some things in it that might be triggering for some people. The family's kind of emotionally abusive. There was a little bit of self-harm in it. If I see it coming, I will try and let you know, but this is just a heads up. Most of it is not that, it's silliness, but there's a little bit of that in there. Another super chat from KD Henley. She who controls the smize controls the universe. Ooh, thank you. Oh, and at the end of chapter 3, she found a smize talisman that was transported via the kitchen sink, which means that I think she has a chance to go to Modelland, or someone in the family has a chance. I don't know. I don't know why it works this way, or how it really works. She shamed her for being poor too. Yeah, that's true. Poor shaming in this book. I don't think Tyra knows how to talk about poor people. All right, let us begin. Chapter 4, 91% chance. Tookie's body tingled. She was holding a smize in her hands. Her, a forget-a-girl. The smize was made up of ornate eyeshadow-like flourishes and strokes of taxicab, Dijon, baby chick, banana, and lemonade yellow. Shut up! It's just this with the... Shut up! It's just pea color. That's what I call it. Thinner than a sheet of paper. It was surprisingly heavy and seemed to hum ever so slightly as it rested in Tookie's palms. Mrs. de la Creme stalked up to Tookie. Mr. de la Creme was in perfect step behind his wife. Brian shoved Miracle forward and joined the Smize parade heading in Tuki's direction. Brian, I think, is her sister's friend. Miracle is her sister. Another super chat from Mitt Kitty. Yay, I'm awake for one of these. Well, thanks. I'm glad you're awake. Slowly, Tookie. See, I'm not going to remember the voices I chose, but so it's probably going to be very inconsistent. Slowly, Tookie, dear, Mrs. De la Creme advised. And it's over. Tookie hesitated, then stretched out her arms, feeling a little sad to part with the beautiful membrane. Membrane? That's not an appealing description for that. Her arms wobbled. Careful, Oh wait, no, that's a Mr. Careful, Mr. De la Creme roared. Don't want those scraggy twigs of yours dropping our future. Tookie's mother's breath quickened and her wrinkled face started to turn blue. Mr. De la Creme patted his wife's arm. Calm down, Creamy. Everything's going to be okay. Excuse me, Mrs. De la Creme shot him a look. I cannot believe your flabby couch potato ass has the audacity to tell my hard-working firm one that everything will be okay. Mrs. De la Creme placed Bellissima, that's her doll, just a baby doll that she holds. Mrs. De la Creme placed Bellissima on the kitchen counter and scooped both hands into Tookie's palms. As the Smize was pulled away from her, Tookie felt a pang. Her moment of being special in some way had vanished as quickly as it had arrived. And her big megamind head fell to the floor. Ugh. Mrs. De la Creme brought the Smize under an overhead light. Brian, Mr. De la Creme, and Miracle gathered around and stared. Tookie had to stand on a chair to get a partial view of it. Soon the Smize began to shake. Waves of yellow of every shade popped out from all sides. A miniature flag emblazoned with a Smize then deployed from the middle of the object, fluttering in its own mild breeze. Words began to scroll through the air. This is her own little Harry Potter letter coming to her. So it's really just supposed to be this eye thing. It's like literally a Smize is just an eye. Like, I know Smize means smiling with your eyes, but I didn't think it was literally just like an eye that comes out of a sink. The little flag. I remember the flag from the Top Model episode where they reenact scenes from Modelland, and there was the flag. Everything's starting to make sense now that I'm getting all the context. Mrs. De la Creme began to read in a clear, haughty voice. Congratulations, De la Cremes! De la Cremes? It can see us? Mr. De la Creme wondered worriedly. He began to flit around the room, like a hummingbird, removing duct tape from various holes and cracks and tidying as much as he could. We can't let them see the place like this. Another super chat from Black Mamba 111. I love these videos. Thank you. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. I'm curious to see what the retention rate will be. Hopefully people will stick around. Mrs. De la Creme sucked her teeth and shook her head at her husband before continuing to read the words that floated in the air. You hold in your tea-drenched hands the 7th and last day of Discovery Smize. Oh, last day of Discovery Smize. I was putting the wrong emphasis on it. What girls everywhere dream of having. The wearer of this Smize has a 91% chance of being discovered on the day of discovery. 91% chance? Ha! Mr. De la Creme boasted. My miracle will be batting 1,000. He hobbled around, throwing out the tea bag, crumpling the newspaper, and crawling on his knees to glue the broken granite tiles back together. If you don't stop, Mrs. De la Creme said, glaring at him, I'm going to poke out your other eye. Oh, I forgot. He only has one eye.
which we are...
Who's reading it now? I don't know. It doesn't say who's reading it. I'm gonna guess it's the dad. Which we are elated to inform you improves the De la Creme offspring's chances of fame and fortune. Perhaps you'd be able to rid yourselves of this ramshackle asylum should your spawn reach the pinnacle of success. We're going to be rich! Brian yelled. Is he the brother? Is it do they have a brother? I thought he was a friend. But he said we're...
We, Mrs. de la Creme's items suspiciously. Then she continued. Might I bring your attention to the myriad of golden colors on the smize? When choosing your attire for the day of discovery, pay close attention to your ensemble so that your ensemble complements and does not clash with this precious smize specimen. Many of the left-behind 9% of smize holders during previous days of discovery deviated from dashing dress design decisions. You have been warned.
Thank you, Inverno Estivo. Thank you, everyone. What voice did I even give the sister? I don't remember it all at this point.
Creamy, Creamy, I have the perfect dress,
Miracle yelped. Mrs. de la Creme read the last of the air message.
May your clothes click, your hair shimmer, and your face glimmer, and your stride glide. Bon chance, de la Creme, and maybe, just maybe, we'll see you at Modelland.
A siren blared, and fine print with no spaces between the words scrolled almost faster than Mrs. de la Creme could read.
Now for the rules. The wearer of the smize must only wear it in the day of Discovery Square. Must only be worn by a female. Do not inform others that you possess a smize. Although the smize comes with water, do not get it wet. Violation of these rules may cause serious side effects: face aches, nausea, vomiting, blurry visions of fashion police brutality, designer knockoffs knocking you upside the head, stinging bees in your hair bonnet, biting wolves, and cheap clothing.
The words disappeared, the colored ribbons and the flag retreated, and the smize let out what sounded like a contented sigh. The words disappeared. The colored ribbons on the flag retreated, and the oh, I already read that part. Tookie turned and stared at Miracle, whose cheeks were pink with pleasure. So it was really happening. Miracle was really going to walk on the day of discovery, that mysterious, elusive, galvanizing event that had driven everyone into a frenzied mania. Tookie knew she shouldn't be surprised. Her parents had talked of little else all year. On the chalkboard in the corner of the kitchen was a training schedule listing the times and dates for Miracle's walking, posing, facial expression, pouting, and phonics classes. Trophies from Miracle's dance competition victories crowded in the mantel in the den. 8 crowns hung from the hooks on the wall in Miracle and Tookie's shared room, each saying, "The Mover of Metopia," in glittery letters across the front. They live in Metopia. In case you're not aware that this is all from Tyra's mind, it's called Metopia. It's all about Tyra. Miracle had won the Mover of Metopia contest every year she'd competed. It had become so predictable that few in Metopia even bothered entering anymore. Yeah, Metopia, like the... like, on the Wii. But still, Tookie felt like this moment had snuck up on her. With the Smize's help, Miracle was almost sure to go to Modelland, that misty, spooky, mysterious place atop the mountain. What actually happened there?
So listen up. On the day of discovery, we'll take Miracle to the city square very, very early in the morning to get her ready,
Mrs. de la Creme was saying to the group. She started counting things off on her fingers.
It will be me, your father, Tookie.
Me? Tookie interrupted. She so startled that she straightened to her full 6 feet. Ugh, 6 feet, what a freak.
Well, why do you need me?
Yeah, why does she have to come? Miracle wrinkled her nose, looking slightly jealous. Suddenly, a tiny flutter of hope rose in Tookie's chest. Was it possible her parents wanted her to walk too? Mrs. de la Creme sank into one hip.
Isn't it obvious? We need your baby fingers to fasten the buttons and zippers on Miracle's dress. And to get my baby gherkins out of the jar for me while she's walking. You know my gherkins calm me down when I'm nervous.
No more baby gherkins! Enough of this. Oh, we got 2 super chats. From Morag October. First time I've made it to a live reading. Love all your work, Allison. What if Tukey found her way to Radu's castle? That's a crossover I'd love to see. Oh, thank you. Oh, damn it! I can't have Modelland at the Radu castle. I'm not ready for this. Mom, why did you hold a Modelland competition without telling me? Haven't done Radu in a while. Another from Mitt Kitty. Only the best for Dudley. I mean Miracle. I know, right? It's so obvious. It's the Harry Potter in the closet. It's so bad. Thank you. Where am I? Baby gherkins. Ugh. Oh, Tukey said quietly, feeling a little ridiculous that she thought for a moment that they wanted her to walk on T-Dod. I suppose it will be funner if you're there, Dookie, Miracle said in a conciliatory tone. Dookie! Got her with that one. Tukey said, feeling a barb of anger. That's what I said, Miracle protested. Now I remember it was the whiny valley girl is what I did for her voice. Yeah, right, Tukey thought. She noticed Brian snickering behind his hand. Don't laugh at me, Miracle said, frustrated. I'm on my periodical right now. It makes me forgetful. So it's supposed to be she just forgot her name wasn't Dookie? Like, I thought she's just insulting her, but they're going with this, huh? It's period, not periodical, Tukey growled. And remember, guys, Tukey has not yet had her period at, I think, 15, and she's very jealous that Miracle has already gotten a visit from Mother Nature. Miracle smirked. How do you know? You haven't even gotten yours yet. Tukey turned away, her face flooded with heat. Miracle never resisted the urge to remind her that she had gotten her period already, even though she was 2 years younger. This is stupid. A stupid fight. Another super chat from Kevin Lechuga. My soul smizes whenever there's a new live reading. Thank you. Then Miracle suddenly ran out of the room, perplexing everyone. She returned moments later, swirling and twirling, wearing an elaborate flamenco-style fuchsia costume. Here's my dress I'm gonna wear, Creamy. It moves like a chow-chow dancer when I do my model dance. It's cha-cha, girl, not chow-chow. Brian stifled a snicker. But remember, it's gotta match the smize. That ain't gonna work if it's fuchsia. Gotta wear the piss yellow. There's another super chat from Melena Kiss. What page you on? But what page are you on? 51. We're on page 51 out of... God, I'm scared to say. 569. Dude, that was it, right? This is so long. 569. Okay, I just want to read something to you guys. Another thing to you guys real quick. It's funny to me. Just gonna keep taking breaks. It's fine. It's not like we have a 500-page book to read. 569! Alright, so this is... I'm sending a link in the chat here. The Wikipedia page for Modelland. I'm just gonna read some of the reviews for this book. This came out in 2011, by the way. It's supposed to be part of the Modelland trilogy. Have yet to see parts 2 or 3. Here is the reviews for this, according to Wikipedia. Publishers Weekly considered the book overlong, campy and warped, and a non-stop barrage of surrealism and wackiness, but conceded that it could serve as a guilty pleasure. The Stony Book Press praised Banks's approach of allegorically describing the process by which contestants are selected to appear on America's Next Top Model, but criticized the book's inner conflict of purpose and described it as tacky, predictable, and superficial, and exhausting to read. While the Georgia Straight called it a befuddling piece of dreckitude, and evidence that Banks is certifiably batty. Bitch, that is the publication, Bitch noted that although Modelland promotes self-esteem and confidence in girls, it is less than empowering since it is all to a depressing consumerist end, calling it a nonsensical, nightmarish acid trip that seemed like it would never end, and with more made-up words and terms than a Klingon translation of a Dr. Seuss book, and emphasizing that it stops being funny when you realize just how long it is. It goes on into Tyra Banks's inspiration for Modelland, as if it wasn't just she just wanted to write a book about herself, about models and top model, and do her own Harry Potter thing. This was according to her website. Banks has said that the inspiration for Modelland happened one day while she was driving down on a street in New York City. She'd been thinking about why supermodels are super. The idea of Modelland came to mind. She wrote on her website, talking about the idea for the book, "I'm always dreaming up ideas, like when the words modeling boarding school floated into my head while I was driving on the FDR highway in Manhattan. I wrote them down in a little notepad, and 5 years later, thousands of pages and dozens of writing getaways later, 5 years, I finally get to call myself the author of Modelland." She just was driving down the road, and she's like, why are models super? Harry Potter, Modelland, boarding school. What if Tyra Banks is Banksy? Oh man, that would be the ultimate twist, wouldn't it? Okay. Where are we at? It's Cha-Cha, girl, not Chow Chow. Brian stifled a snicker. And it's walk, not dance. Mrs. De la Creme sounded like she was going to burst a blood vessel. Besides, the dress is hideous and has nothing to do with couture. Take that thing off. Congratulations, Tukey. That dress is now yours. Great, Tukey thought. Another dress that is revolting and will look marvelous on Tukey. Hand me up. Now, as for a day of discovery dress for my miracle, Mrs. De la Creme continued. Miracle, Tukey. I'm going to Ladorno tomorrow, and we will find a dress that is fit for a fashion, not flamenco. Excuse me. But, Miracle whined. Me? Tukey said again. Mrs. De la Creme looked annoyed with both of them. My decision is final. One of you will be trying on lots of dresses, and the other will be busy picking them up. Everyone marched out of the kitchen. Well, Miracle danced. Only after they had all dispersed did Tukey realize she'd forgotten to tell her mother about the piece of roof slate that had nearly sliced her head open on her way in. Tukey dejectedly walked to her room, sadly realizing that the Forget-A-Girl had actually forgotten about her own forgettable self. Oh, isn't that just the way? Oh, that was apparently the end of the chapter. Going into chapter 5. See, not all of them are that long. Picking them up with her baby fingers. They sure like creepy descriptions, calling things baby-sized. Chapter 5. Smacking into mirrors. A few minutes later, Tukey stood in the doorway of the bedroom she shared with Miracle. Are they going to get to Modelland anytime soon? Anytime soon. I mean, that review was pretty apt. It's fun until you realize how long it is. Oh, there's another Allison in the chat. Hello, Allison Edrington. We got the same name. A few minutes later, Tukey stood in the doorway. Oh, I have another super chat. Hang on. Oh, I will get through more than one sentence this chapter. Another from Mobius. Modelland took 5 years to make, right? I think she said the same thing about like her singing career when she had the Move Your Body song or Shake Your Body. Forgive me for getting Tyra's song wrong. I think she said that it was also like 5 years or 6 years or some long time to like produce it. I think she like saying she takes this amount of time like it means that she's putting more thought into it and it's better. Like she won't release it till it's perfect. How dare you! Look, we can't make fun of that anymore. Tyra apologized with her non-apology. Those were some whack choices. Okay. A few minutes later, Tukey stood in the doorway of the bedroom she shared with Miracle. She was trying to enter the room, but a pile of leotards blocked her way, as well as a pair of toe shoes, 2 pairs of jazz shoes, and one stray sandal. A long piece of duct tape bisected the room, separating Tukey's side from Miracle's, but it made no difference. Miracle's mess had invaded every corner in the same way mildew grew on tub tile. Like a sitcom, they have duct tape to separate their sides of the room. Dirty clothes were piled on the floor. Makeup trays and brushes and used cotton balls and a pair of dirty socks lay strewn about Tukey's otherwise neatly organized dresser. There was a sweat-stained leotard on Tukey's pillow. Ample cupped bras that certainly didn't belong to Tukey were draped across Tukey's carefully made bed, and torn-out pages from Modelland magazines were scattered across the floor like leaves that had fallen from a fashion tree. Oh my god, I'm in love with this sentence. I will read it again after the super chat from Samir Sela. If you read a Charmed book, read Luck Be a Lady. It has everything great about Charmed. Time travel, Cole blaming, and Piper being selfish. Oh, I'm not that strong, Samir. I'm not that strong. I am wearing some of my Charmed palette eyeshadow today, though. I did a video about it if you guys didn't see it, becoming the wickedest Charmed one. They got like the green. I think this is Leo green that I used, and was it Leo? I don't know. There was a paler green, and then there was the pink Phoebe, and then red Cole, and then I think the Halliwells was the lighter color. I know you guys are all I know you're all very excited about that. This is a long-ass, crazy sentence to read. Okay, here's this whole sentence. There was a sweat-stained leotard on Tukey's pillow. Ample cupped bras that certainly didn't belong to Tukey were draped across Tukey's carefully made bed, and torn-out pages from Modelland magazines were scattered across the floor like leaves that had fallen from a fashion tree. That's a lot to take in. I look very charmed, thank you. And my eyeshadow looks nice, thank you. Modelland magazines. You know what? In Tyra's dreams, there are really Modelland magazines. She thinks once this theme park takes off, she's gonna have Modelland magazine come out. It's gonna be great. She's gonna sell her makeup. There's gonna be more pyramid schemes. It's all gonna be great. More multi-level marketing schemes. It's cool. Everyone's gonna get their Modelland elixir and artisanal truffles. Tukey tossed the bras, 3 pairs of dance shoes, and a variety of necklaces, bracelets, and leg warmers off her bed and onto Miracle's side of the floor. Every evening, Tukey flung Miracle's junk to her side, and every afternoon when she came home, it had all migrated back to Tukey's side once more. Tukey slumped down on her bed. Miracle is walking on the day of discovery with a smize, she thought once more. She wasn't sure why it bothered her so much. Everyone in her class was walking. Abigail, Zarpessa. The names in this book. Zarpessa. The image of Zarpessa and Theophilus kissing in the hall flashed in her mind. You know, for a moment, see, I'm becoming numb to Tukey, right? To Tukey de la Creme, and Miracle is like, it's spelled weird, but like, I've heard of people called Miracle before, so I've become kind of numb to this. But then once they get into the school names, all of a sudden I remember Zarpessa and Theophilus are things. Yeah, Brian's a normal ass name. He's the weirdo in Modelland universe. Like, he's named Brian and everyone else is some, like, weird ass name. They're like, Brian. What kind of name is Brian? She closed her eyes and clenched her fists. If only Zarpessa hadn't come up when Tukey and Theophilus were having their moment. Had Theophilus really spoken to her? Would she ever get a moment like that again? Calm down, Tukey. She closed her fingers around the newly defective Tukey button. This piece of Theophilus fit perfectly. This piece of Theophilus fit perfectly in the heart of her palm, the metal pin cold against her dry skin. She gazed at its lacquered message. Tukey! In case people don't realize, she found a button that fell off of Theophilus. It was, I don't know, it spelled something else that I already forgot. Anyway, it got thrown across the room and people stepped on it and some letters rubbed away. And now it says a misspelling of her name and it's all spaced out weird. Tukey. T-O-O-Key. T-O-Key. You can see my bad nail polish. Tukey. Theophilus, oh Theophilus. Tukey swooned. She closed her eyes and licked her lips. She's an incel is what she is. Like, she thinks she deserves Theophilus because she wants him, because, like, nobody likes nice girls, you know? She's been friend-zoned. Not even friend-zoned, forget-a-zoned. She closed her eyes and licked her lips. Your salted caramel eyes, Theophilus. She imagined Theophilus right in front of her. She leaned toward him, her eyes closed, her lips caressing the air. What a weirdo. We can call our boy... No! We can call our boy Tukey Tukophilus and our girl Thudi? Thudi? We could call our boy Tukophilus and our girl Thudi. It's like, it's Tuvix level naming, you know? Like, but naming the kids their couple portmanteaus. The chat's killing me. What? No! Good God, why are we supposed to like this protagonist? She puckered, and her lips connected with a solid, cold surface. Theophilus, she thought. Oh yes, baby. I'm so happy you're giving me my very first kiss. Mwah. What are you doing? Tukey opened her eyes. She was face to face with herself. Her lips were in contact with Miracle's full-length mirror. There on the reflective glass was a blurry outline of her broad, puffy lips. Tukey whirled around. Miracle stood in the doorway with one hand on her hip. Miracle's eyes glimmered. Are you making in with yourself? Tyra does not know how to write stupid people. It just makes her seem dumber. It doesn't make Miracle seem dumb. Miracle ain't real. It's dumb. No, she's not. She can't be named Tootie, Mitt Kitty. I know Tootie's a real name. It's Tukey, because she's special. She's got different colored eyes, and she's a freak, but that's what makes her special. Tukey ducked her head. Miracle pirouetted to Tukey's perfectly made bed and flopped down on the mattress. Who do you want to kiss? Tukey turned away, clamping her mouth shut. Brian Quincy, Miracle teased. So not their brother, then. Not their brother. Just some guy. Just some guy. Ugh, no. Who then? It doesn't matter. Don't feel bad about not doing kissing yet, Miracle said in a teasing voice. It feels like a little wormy man is crawling into your mouth anyways. A wave of humiliation rushed through Tukey. Who says I haven't kissed anyone? Okay, so maybe it's true, but is it written all over my face? Miracle sniffed. Come on. Oh, sorry.
Come on. But it's okay. Doing kissing with yourself is better than doing no kissing at all, Dookie. She giggled a little as she left the room, managing to drop a cardigan sweater, a tap shoe, and several gum wrappers on Tuki's side as she left. She's like Pigpen, just like clothes and stuff are just flying off of her. Tuki's eyes popped open. Are these separated by M's? Paragraph separated by M's? Why is there just a random M? I don't recall this being part of the formatting. They've changed it. I don't understand. There's a random M up here for some reason. I don't know why that's there. Hemorrhaging clothing. Yeah. You might hear some footsteps. It's just my neighbors. Tuki's eyes popped open. Cold, chipped tile pressed against the bottoms of her feet. Icy wind gushed around her flannel hand-me-up pajamas. She wasn't in bed as she was supposed to be, but standing in the doorway between the kitchen and the living room. How did I get here? She couldn't remember turning the knob of her bedroom door, walking down the stairs, or padding through the hall. She then looked into the dark room in front of her and gasped. Balanced on one hand in the center of the living room's tattered carpet was her father, clad in a colorful unitard. His waist twisted in the air, his legs were bent at an awkward angle, his muscles strained and shook. An empty bottle of tater mash, a colorless distilled beverage imported from Kremlingrad. Is Kremlingrad real, or this is just her version of Russia in the Modelland world? Kremlingrad? This like Pepper Town because it's hot? Kremlingrad. Lee tipped over on the floor. So he's floating in the air, all tater mash. It's vodka? Is that a real thing, tater mash? I don't know if it's a stupid real name or a stupid Tyra name, is the thing. Kremlingrad. Kremlingrad. Can we... How am I going to get through this book, guys? How am I going to get... Well, yes, I know there's potato vodka, but is tater mash a thing? I could find out. Let's look it up. Tater mash. I thought she's just talking about mashed potatoes. Tater mash. Nope. It's the name of some custom tater mash oilcloth, embroidery, and gifts? Okay. Kremlingrad. Guys, I don't know how I'm gonna recover from this. Next to it was a faded photograph of the incredible Chris Creme Crobat, otherwise known as Christopher de la Creme. I lost a few people. Sorry, my Kremlingrad rant wasn't keeping people. They're like, I can't... Oh, okay, I got more now. It's fine. More people came in. Kremlingrad. People are on the fence. They don't know if they can handle this. In the photo, Tuki's father still possessed both of his green eyes, and he didn't have the couch potato paunch. Tuki ducked behind the wall. When she was much younger, she'd assisted her father during many of his acrobatic practices. He'd even told her lovingly that they made a good team, and she'd attended many of her father's performances with the Circo del Sol troupe before his tragic accident. He had, an acrobat accident, and maybe they mentioned this before I don't recall this being a thing. So he's an acrobat who had an accident and lost his eye. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It's just everyone's a big weirdo in this universe. She could still remember that day in almost perfect detail. The sparkling gold cover of the programs, the plush red velvet seats, the set your mouth on fire taste of the bag of Gouda and habanero flavored popcorn, and the sharp 5-foot swords that pointed skyward all along the perimeter of the stage.
3 tumblers juggling fire with their tongues while jumping on humongous translucent trampolines suspended over the audience had been the first act. Next was a group of 10-year-old girls, contortionists who had backflipped into the deep, hot pink-dyed swimming pools full of crocodiles! She just always has to add like 2 or 3 more unnecessary details. I kinda love it though. It's very good. It's very Gouda, I should say. Gouda and habanero flavored popcorn. And then the lights had dimmed, and the mysterious music filled the air. A single spotlight shone down on Tuki's ripple-bodied father, the headlining star of Circo del Sol. Tuki had swelled with pride as her father looped and danced and climbed a mental floss a mental floss. It's all in my head because of the sight. A dental floss thin wire. Her father, the mighty Chris Creme Crobat, was going to execute a new move that evening. Circo del Sol had billed it as the first time any human had ever attempted such a feat. Mrs. de la Creme was full of pride that evening, too. However, right as Tuki's father had reached the 7th-story landing on the stage, Mrs. de la Creme pulled out her mirror to add a bit of wrinkle redux to her tanned and hideously lined face. Oh no! I want to look my best when the camera's all turned to me after his feat is done, she murmured. But the mirror caught a beam of light that shone right into Chris Creme Crobat's eyes, momentarily blinding him. In a panic, he lost his footing and fell 7 stories! Most acrobats would have had extensive injuries or even died, but not Tuki's nimble father. He tucked his body and landed smoothly on his upper back, propelling himself forward into a smooth tumble. The audience erupted into cheers. Chris Creme Crobat then arched upward and to stand from his backbend and face his adoring, applauding, whistling, screaming fans. Ever the devoted showman, he thrust himself forward into a deep bow, impaling his eye on one of the 5-foot swords on the perimeter of the stage. What is going on? What is going on in this what is happening? There's so many twists and turns in this story. Oh my god. Okay, so her father, the acrobat. You know what? She swerved on me. Tyra swerved on me because I didn't know where this was going. All right, so let's break this down. All right, this is a review. All right, so we need to critique this as journalistic critics. Literary critics of this wonderful book. Okay, during this scene, her father's an acrobat. And he's doing a feat that no one's ever done before. While these girls are doing contortionist stuff into pink pools full of crocodiles or whatever, and he's gonna do this flip over like 7 stories or something. But just as he's gonna do it, his wife is like, I gotta put on this wrinkle cream with my mirror so that I look good on camera, and then and then the light reflects and then blinds him, and then he goes, but he's so nimble like a cat, like Catwoman. He just like flips himself around and like but then so everything's cool, right? But his hubris is what got him. His wife actually had nothing to do with this. He bows and isn't paying attention and impales his own eye on a sword. This is like, I'm not making this up. It feels like a weird ass fanfic for something that doesn't exist. It's a weird ass Harry Potter fanfic is what this is. Hubris. It's always what gets them. I don't know how to handle this book. See this? Okay. I'm assuming it's intended to be funny, this part. I'm assuming it's intended to be fun. How do you accidentally impale yourself? Yeah. Do you ever just accidentally impale yourself? Yeah, that's a very... Oh, damn it. Isn't that always the way? Okay, so this part, I'm assuming intended to be funny. A bit of black humor on Tyra's part. And yet, like, I mean, it's not good, though, right? It's not clever. It's why I Okay. Tuki, she's having like nightmares about this, about the day her dad stupidly impaled himself while his wife was looking at herself in the mirror unrelatedly. It has nothing to do with him being blinded. Like, that's just another detail, just like as an aside that was happening. Tuki had wrestled past the security barricade and run to the stage. Pools of her okay, it's gonna get a little violent. Pools of her father's blood splattered the stage floor, along with pieces of flesh? What is he doing? Is he like, I can't get loose. Let me just keep doing it. Oh, let me grab it. Oh, my hand. Oh, no. How is this going so bad? This went downhill fast. And there, staring up at her, was her father's eye, disembodied, lifeless on the stage floor, gazing at Tookie accusingly as if asking, why? It's like the scene in Evil Dead 2. They like pop the eye out of the Deadite's face, and then it flies into her mouth. This book is for kids. Yeah, it's surprisingly violent. I wasn't expecting this stuff in Modelland. We haven't even gotten to Modelland yet. She didn't have anyone reenact this on the Top Model episode about this. This was a surprise. In the days that followed, Tookie was afraid that her father would die. But when they gotten the word that the blade had caused no brain or nerve damage, she'd rejoiced, which angered her mother. Don't you see? She cried in Tookie's face. This is the end for him. He only has one damn eye. He's damaged, defective, done. Her mother then calmed down and held Tookie's shoulders. It was a freak accident, okay? You and I do not have any idea where that beam of light came from that made him fall. But, I mean, why are they acting like it's the mom's fault? Because, like, it was him impaling himself, bowing. That had nothing to do with the light making him fall. I hate to defend Tookie's mother, but it is what happened as described by Tyra Banks. Tookie had only been 8 years old, but she'd fully understood what her mother was telling her. Forget what happened. Tell no one. Yeah, I'm sure no one noticed this during this performance, this self-impalement. Oh boy, ableism, yeah. Tookie let out, well, I mean, her mother is not a nice person. Tookie let out a loud sniff, caught up in the memory. Mr. de la Creme's head shot up. His good eyes squinted into the dark kitchen. Who's there? Tookie bit down on her bottom lip and didn't move. I said, who's there? Tookie slowly padded into the hall and showed her face. Mr. de la Creme walked over to the couch, tore open the packaging of a new chenille blanket, and quickly covered himself with it. What the? What the? I'm sorry, Daddy, Tookie said. I was sleepwalking again. You scared the hell out of me, girl, he slurred. Oh, he's drunk. You scared the hell out of me, girl, he slurred. Tookie backed slowly away. She pointed at the photo on the floor. You doing your old routines? She asked. You're still really good. Mr. de la Creme harumphed. Harumph! In some quadrants, spying on the people is punishable by death. But as he ducked his head, Tookie saw a tiny smile flash across his face. You want me to spot you? Tookie asked. Mr. de la Creme considered the offer for a long moment. Like when you were a wee little thing? Tookie grinned. This was the first time since the tragic incident. He agreed to let her help him. Mr. de la Creme got on his hands and knees once more and spread his palms wide. All I need you to do is watch for two things. One, if it looks like I'm going to fall, you gotta warn me before I do, so I can right myself. Two, watch out for that mean mother of yours, understood? I don't know what voice it's going into now. Absolutely, Daddy, Tookie said. She watched as her father pressed into the handstand again, the veins in his arms bulging, his paunch shaking, sweat pouring down his face. Tukey stared at her father's flabby stomach and glass eye. Her mother obviously loved him less, or had fallen out of love completely now that he was defective. In a way, it only made Tukey connect with her father more. They were two defectives in a world that was obsessed with perfection. Too defective. The Tukey's whole, like, I'm so defective because I got 2 different colored eyes and a big forehead and I'm so tall and shut up. Suddenly, her father let out a groan and tipped over. Tukey jumped out of the way to avoid his heavy falling legs, which nicked the coffee table. What the hell, girl? He roared. His face had flushed as red as spit-polished apple, and his hair was streaked with sweat. Why weren't you paying attention? Why didn't you tell me I was out of position? I'm sorry, Tukey cried, instantly regretting her daydreaming. I promise it won't happen again. Her father stared at her for a moment, carefully examining her. A startled, disgusted expression flashed across his face, as if a light had flipped on inside his head. It was a look Tukey had seen before, but one he'd never explained. Just go, for all of us, he said, waving her away. Tukey's feeling of being needed was replaced by an emptiness that now burned deep inside her. She resisted the urge to plead with her father and instead turned away and went back to bed. Wow. Lots of mixed feelings about that chapter. That was the end of chapter 5. The whole accident, I can't get over this. The whole accident, the acrobatic accident where he impales himself and somehow they try to lay the blame on Tukey's mom for this, for being incredibly vain. Though really it was his own self-involvement that got him impaled. This is wild, y'all. This is wild. How y'all feeling in the chat so far? How you feeling about this book? You feeling good? I'm feeling some of this is pretty rotten. I gotta be honest with you. Some of this is pretty rotten. I mean, I get, like, some of this is character point of view. Sometimes characters are just kind of assholes. Clearly her mom's an asshole. Everyone's an asshole. But, like, you know, the whole ableism and stuff, I get that's coming from that. But at the same time, there is some stuff that I think, like, is not dealt with tactfully at all in this book. Sorry to get a little serious here, but, you know, this is a live review as well. So the things like going into the self-harm and the abuse and the ableism and stuff like that, it all just, it's very mixed in this comedy model book. Not to say that you can't mix these sorts of concepts together with a deft hand, but Tyra does not have it. Yeah. I realize there are far meaner, darker books, of course. It feels like, mood whiplash. That's the thing. That's what makes it feel weirder, being in Modelland. Yeah, and, well, and also, like, the poor shaming and stuff, that just seems like you're supposed to agree with that. So there's some things in there where it's just like, well, alright, so Tukey's just an asshole. And the whole creepy obsessing over this guy, Theophilus, or whatever, all very friend zone creepiness. Alright, let's do another chapter. We haven't been going that long. Chapter 6. Stunning, statuesque, strobotronic stars with stupefying stratospheric struts. That is the entire title. I will read it again. Stunning It's the Buffy font! That's what was getting me. It's the Buffy font! Right? Am I wrong? The chapter titles is in the Buffy font. Right? Not the main thing, the main title, but like the credits font. Not the main Buffy logo, but I don't know if it's focusing very well. This feels like the Buffy font to me, though. Focus. There we go. Yes, it is. Okay, it is the Buffy font, right, yeah. I bring up Buffy once again. Not to bring up Buffy, but it's the Buffy font. I figured it out. Okay, the title again. You saw how long it was, right? Stunning, statuesque, strobotronic stars with stupefying stratospheric struts. Oh, chapter 6 like Buffy season 6. Well, this is, some parts of this are about as depressing as season 6 was. Alright. This is the point of view of whoever the hell this narrator is. Sometimes there's like stuff in italics. I don't know who's talking. It sounds like an old drag queen. Now it's time to dish about Ladorno, darlings. The most desirable quadrant in all of Metopia. Sunny skies, pleasant 78-degree temperatures at all times, except on the beaches, where it's a wonderful 85. Warm, sweet-smelling seawater, low humidity without a cloud for miles. And when you breathe in, you inhale only fresh, crisp, unpolluted air. You want to live in this place, right? You and the rest of the world, darling. See, bliss comes with a price in Ladorno. Only the richest and most successful Metopians get to live there. But how do you qualify? I've been training myself. See, I always said qualify. Everyone was saying I was saying it wrong, so I've been training myself to not say it's stupid. But how do you qualify to reside in Ladorno? Well, the Quadrant's council puts you through a series of privacy invading tests to prove your worth. Oh, they'll scour your bank accounts, examining every purchase. They'll interview your friends, your family, your employer, even the gentleman at the newspaper stand from whom you buy your moneyed Metopian magazine every week. They'll visit your house and check the labels on all your belongings. If they discover a knockoff handbag, stamp a big red denied on your Ladorno residency application. If they notice that your prized Pekingese doesn't have the perfect pedigree, stamp denied. One thing to know, though, is that there's a sect of people that does not have to be subjected to Ladorno's sadistic entrance challenges in order to be allowed to live within the Quadrant's guarded gates. And who might they be? I'm sure you've guessed it by now, but let me clue you in. The names of these sacred souls begin with I and end with Ella. And guess what? We're just about to get a peek at a few of them. 77 to be exact. I'm moving to Kremlingrad. I don't get this. And like, oh, why they have to come up with stupid... This is their equivalent of Russia or whatever, Kremlingrad. When Russia really, like, it exists. Denied. I'm so confused with the whole, like, 7-7 thing, by the way. Just a reminder, it's the number 7 and then the word 7. I will never know how to pronounce this. Denied! Where is Checkers? Oh, Checkers passed away about 5 or 6 years ago. But Ash is around. I have another super chat from Crime Index. Metopians in the blood equals strong in the force. They got the midichlorians. I could find Ash. Let me go find the kitty. She's probably sleeping in my room. I'll be right back. Well, who knows? She might be under the bed or something. I didn't see her right away. She'll probably wander out sometime in the chat. How old is Ash? She's 14. She's a very good kitty. Sorry, guys. Ash is sleeping pleasantly somewhere, dreaming of chasing mice. Just taking a look at the chat. piccata. All right, we're gonna be what they were getting at in this stupid text here is that we're gonna be meeting some of the Intoxibellas. That is the name of the models that get to go to Modelland. Intoxibellas. So at last, at page 61, we're gonna finally get to some Modelland bits here. Are those all DVDs on your shelf or books? They're DVDs. I do have some books, actually. It depends, but this is all DVDs, and then mostly VHS tapes, and then the long row underneath the star is all Quantum Leap novels. DVDs. There's Blu-rays in there too. Yeah. Mix of both and VHS tapes. I know, right? It took 6 chapters to get to Modelland in the Modelland book. Okay. We're not even at Modelland yet. They're just talking about the Intoxibellas. There's a big lead up here. The following morning, Tukey slumped in the back of the family car as her mother pulled into a space at the Sapphire Esplanade, Ladorno's premier mall. As she walked to the entrance with her mother and sister, Tukey was sure everyone was staring at the unusual de la Creme trio. One of them was a stunning blonde girl who was so beautiful it was difficult to look at her for too long. Another was a woman with a tan-skinned, nubile body, but the face of a pretty monster. A monster! And the third was a gangly girl with her gargantuan hair and googly, mismatched eyes. Oh, freak! Tukey often noticed how people stared at them, perhaps wondering whether they could possibly be related. It was as if, when her parents' DNA replicated at conception, all the subpar, defective strands had fused together to make Tukey. Alright, I want to bring up something. I hope I'm not out of line bringing this up here. I'm sorry I keep taking breaks. So Tyra's been in trending on Twitter lately because they brought up a lot of like old stuff from Top Model that were kind of problematic, which were not new things, but things that were just getting some attention recently. And a lot of the things that they were mentioning was like the way that she treated the black models versus the white models. For instance, there was a black model that she asked to close the gap in her teeth, but then a couple seasons later there was a white model that they had widen the gap and stuff like that. So this is something that's been brought up by like people of color, so I hope like I'm not out of line mentioning this, but the way that Tyra treats some of the black models is a little bit different, and how they're treated in the industry. And anyway, I bring this up because the way that she's describing the family in this, they haven't really mentioned specifically about race here, but Tukey is supposed to be Tyra as her young self. She even said as much. So she is supposed to be a black girl. And the way that she's describing the mom seems to be a white person, and the way that she's describing Miracle with the big blonde hair, not that black people don't have blonde hair, but it does seem to be indicating that she is white, or at least lighter skinned. And I don't know if there's this kind of self-loathing going on here, like about like her skin color. Maybe I'm just reading too much into this, or maybe like, you know, she's feeding into something, that some perceptions, but like people in the chat, like let me know, is this a thought that maybe, is this anything? Internalized anti-blackness? Yeah, I've heard that that's a thing sometimes, especially like lighter skinned black people about darker skinned black people and stuff like that. Not that like, you know, this is specifically that, but it feels like an internalized thing. Yeah. Maybe I'm just reading too much into Modelland. Okay, yeah. If I'm out of line, please someone tell me. I do not want to be, you know, I don't want to be out of line here. Okay. So this seems to be something going on here. But also, I think it just feeds into the narrative that, like, Tukey doesn't think she's special until she is. So I think there's just part of that there, too. Yes, please. If there's anyone in the chat who is a person of color that has a different perspective, please chime in. Okay. All right. So it's not just me. It's not just me. This does feel a little bit like that. Okay. The Esplanade contained very high, medium, and low fashion store. What? I did not read that right. The Esplanade contained every high, medium, and low fashion store imaginable, as well as a butterfly sanctuary and an entire wing dedicated to beauty products. A butterfly sanctuary. Today it was brimming with shoppers, many of them dressed in T-Dod-themed gear. T-Dod posters covered every available surface. An enormous screen on an exterior wall showed days of discovery from years past, with thousands of girls walking frantically in Lodordo Square. "Come on," Mrs. De la Creme said, dragging Miracle and Tukey through a set of automatic doors. Tukey inhaled deeply. One of her favorite parts of the Esplanade was the smell, a jumble of parfums? I don't know. I'm saying this wrong. I know I am. And eau de toilette, fountain chlorine, and a variety of ethnic cuisines from the 1 and 6 restaurants scattered among the stores. If she had her way, she'd sample barbecue sauces from the food court, while her mother and Miracle haggled over the perfect T-Dod dress. Oh man, Tyra loves her some barbecue. Remember okay, maybe people don't remember this. I forget that I am a weirdo, but there was a season of Top Model, where every season they go to like a different country, usually is like a big, like, this is their like trip during the finals where they like go to some exotic place, and they were gonna go to Seoul, Korea, and they ended up as like the jokey lead up to it. She brought out a bunch of soul food, and they were eating a bunch of barbecue. Pretty great. T-Dod pandemonium assaulted them immediately. Hundreds of mothers and daughters pawed frantically through the mall, their foreheads beaded with sweat, the bags heavy under their eyes and on their arms. These lower floors of the mall near the main entrance consisted of bargain basement seconds and clearance outlets. Mrs. De la Creme pulled Miracle and Tukey up 6 escalators, past the mid-fashion floors on the top level, straight to the Jerk flagship store, Jerk, J-U-R-K, which carried couture frocks, designed by Jeremy Jerk, the most lauded clothing artiste in the world. He refused to design any apparel but dresses. Jeremy Jerk! I think I have a new favorite. Jeremy Jerk. Jeremy Jerk, everyone. The store was packed to the gills. Everyone spoke at once, their high-pitched voices mixing in the air and sounding like a squawking flock of wild geese. Dresses lay helter-skelter over the racks, on the counters, and on every inch of floor space. Feathered dresses, sequin dresses, tiered, bustled, and ruffled dresses. Dresses with sweetheart necklines, dresses with one shoulder, off the shoulder, strapless and open-back dresses, halters, A-line and asymmetrical dresses, sundresses and cocktail dresses, prom dresses, ombres, metallics. A few girls ran around the department with 3 dresses on their bodies at the same time, for fear their final pick would get snagged by someone else. "This is the perfect one!" one girl shrieked, holding a pale lavender frock in her hands. The girl's mother pushed a rouged red dress into her hands. "Look, Genevieve, I know what's best for you for the day of discovery. I was Miss Metopia 26 years ago. Hello, I know fashion." What has happened so far in this book, though? She's laid on a floor, she's found a smize, and now they're looking for a dress. This is all that's happened. I mean, there's some, like, character building, I suppose. Yeah, Genevieve. Genevieve. It's J-N-E-E-F. Genevieve. I know fashion. Nothing has happened yet. You're right. A lot has happened and nothing has happened. Amid all the noise and the tussling, Tukey felt a pang of longing. Normal mothers helping their normal, single, color-eyed daughters. Tukey thirsted for a drink of it. Enough with the 2 different colored eyes, acting like this is some sort of freakish trait. I have never in my life heard of someone being made fun of for having 2 different colored eyes. I've always, like, everyone that I've known, everything I've ever seen, like, everyone thinks that's a cool thing, having 2 different colored eyes. Like, no one has ever been like, what a freak with 2 different colored eyes. And certainly if they've heard something like that, maybe from kids, there is no one that has a complex about this. Stupid. Mrs. de la Creme and Miracle pawed through the dresses, clearly on the hunt. Miracle pulled out a short green-fringed frock. Too flapper, Mrs. de la Creme deemed, wrinkling her nose. Next, Miracle held out a crushed velvet dress with black sequins and a tuxedo-like white front with ruby buttons dotted down the center. Mrs. de la Creme shook her head. Are these dresses for the day of discovery or the cabaret? What kind of dress are you looking for? Tukey ventured, trying to be helpful. The rack let out an ear-splitting screech as Mrs. de la Creme threw a score of hangers to the floor. No wire hangers! Something very specific. I'll know it when I see it. Miracle must wear an original, and it must not clash with the smize. What about pants? Tukey suggested. Now, that would be original. Pants? Mrs. de la Creme stared at her in horror. Pants are not majestic. Pants are not majestic. Embroider that on a pillow. Yeah, why is she shopping at the mall if she's looking for some original? Pants? Then Mrs. de la Creme's gaze clapped on something across the store. There, she said, moving toward a nude-colored strapless gown with tons of tulle. She pulled it off the rack, though it had a jerk label on it. There was another label that said vintage. Tukey knew Mrs. de la Creme would drop it immediately. A vintage dress was as bad as a ripe banana, an object way past its expiration date. But instead she pressed the dress to Miracle's body. Yes, Miracle, this is it. I can feel it in my gut. After Mrs. de la Creme had paid for the dress, they left the esplanade and exited onto a street teeming with vendors, hawking Day of Discovery souvenirs. One cart was dedicated to t-shirts, hats, and a variety of trinkets bearing the "Where the hell is CL?" slogan Tukey had... Where the hell is CL slogan Tukey had seen on the sidewalks on her walk home. CL is a missing model or something that they've brought up. It's C squiggly line L. Tukey paused, staring longingly at the Intoxibella's face on the cheap t-shirt, beguiled by her hypnotizing matching green eyes. Matching green eyes! Enough! With your stupid mismatched eyes and your baby fingers! I'm done with this. Maybe she'll self-impale one of her mismatched eyes, and then she'll just have one single colored eye. CL was the only Intoxibella in history to grace the cover of Modelland magazine 12 times in a row, every month for an entire year. There were 6 top cosmetic brands in the world, and CL had had contracts with all of them, simultaneously. One season, all of the designers during L'Adorno Fashion Week had decided to have CL be their only model. CL starred solo on 82 runways that season. So where had she gone? The shady vendor eyed Tukey. Hey there, funny-looking girl. Wanna buy a piece of CL? Tukey turned away nervously. Then she noticed someone familiar sitting on a bench only a few feet away from the mall's entrance. A man she'd seen on her walks home from school. He had broad, football player shoulders, but today he was so drooped over that his body made a shrimp shape on the bench. A shrimp shape! His skin was faintly wrinkled, and his root beer brown eyes looked sad. His root beer brown eyes! He mumbled softly to himself, just like he always did, and held onto the laces of an enormous, battered wingtip shoe slung over his shoulder. That shoe was why Tukey had given him a secret nickname, Wingtip. You don't need dumb nicknames. Everyone's already got dumb real names. Wingtip's head shot up. His eyes met hers for a brief second, suddenly clearing. Tukey froze. She wasn't used to being seen. A disgusted snort sounded to her right.
Ugh, what riffraff they allow into Ladorno,
Mrs. de la Creme scoffed, sneering at Wingtip. She pinched Tukey's arm.
What have I told you about making eye contact with the demented? Turn away! He's dangerous!
I'm losing my Crypt Keeper voice. Tukey shrugged. Wingtip didn't seem so dangerous to her, though the fact that he spoke to himself did frighten her a bit. Lizzie spoke to herself too, but only during her episodes, the moments when she went far, far away to a scary place in her mind that Tukey couldn't enter. Lizzie is her friend that lives in a tree, like a Keebler elf. She snuck a glance back at Wingtip, at his threadbare suit, his crusty clogs, his sad smile, and the single shoe slung over his shoulder. He was still looking at her too. "You all right?" he asked. Tukey's jaw dropped. Now he was speaking to her? But before she could say anything, a boom sounded, echoing off the tall buildings. A brisk wind stirred, whipping Tukey's hair into super expando mode and fluttering her skirt. Tukey peered into the sky. It had suddenly darkened, as if a storm was coming. The clouds weren't black, though. They were golden. "Oh my God," Tukey whispered. "Golden clouds could mean only one thing. Golden showers." Yeah, I'm 5 years old. Everyone turned and gaped at the mountain in the center of town. All at once, huge waves of the mountain's golden fog began to vanish, and beams of gold light that transformed the golden shadows cascaded down the ridge and swept over every street. Tukey heard a soft, alluring giggle in her ear. Hee! She felt a swipe of satin brush up against her arm. The smell of blood oranges filled the air. "It's Modelland! Modelland, the blood oranges! I know this from Top Model. The air smells like blood oranges." Because Tyra, loves blood oranges. "It's happening!" a woman yelled, rushing out of the mall. "The shadows!" cried a man who'd been washing windows on a high platform. Presumably he falls off. The fog on the mountain had completely evaporated, revealing the top of the mountain, which glowed like a metropolis at dusk. Hovering above the mountain was an illuminated eye with its smize flourishes made up of millions of birds from a myriad of species. "It's the Eye of Sauron! He's watching us all!" Tukey had seen the phenomenon before, but never this close. A sleek yet enormous hand of smoke looped around the entire mountaintop and proceeded to spell a word with its white plumes of smoke. Modelland! Everyone spilled out onto the sidewalk to watch the spectacle. Cars stopped in the middle of the street, the divers gawking out their sunroofs. An elevated train halted in its tracks. All the passengers stared out the windows, their mouths open. "I don't know how to do this." "I see I have your attention," boomed a familiar Gaudian accented voice. I don't know what Gaudi is supposed to be in her world. Yes, eye emojis. Modelland. Everyone, Google Modelland theme song and play it right now. I'll give you a second. I can't play it on the stream, but just you need it as the background for this. It's her theme song, so you need to have the theme for this to really get the atmosphere. All right, I think that's enough time. "I see I have your attention," boomed a familiar Gaudian accented voice. It seemed to be coming from the sky itself. Lightning bolts shot from letter cloud to letter cloud, turning them from white to red to blue to green to yellow.
"This is Belladonna speaking,"
the voice continued. I have to make up an accent because I don't know what Gaudian is supposed to be. I'm sure it's probably code for some real thing, like Kremlingrad. "Can you survive Modelland? Their beauty is in strife." Everyone oohed and awed. Ooh, ah. The Belladonna was the grand dame of the land on the mountain and the final decision maker about all candidates.
"The day of discovery is less than one sunset away,"
the Belladonna went on.
"And so the time has come to present you this year's newly minted 7-7. This is a glimpse at what your future might be if you are so lucky, if you are so divine, if you're one of the most special girls in the world. Each and every girl on your planet has a chance to be one of the enlightened. Could it be you?"
On your planet, are they aliens? Are they gods? Like on the Mount Olympus? I don't know what's happening. I'm scared. Yes! Miracle screamed, jumping up and down in the parking lot. Clouds swirled in the sky, lightning bolts danced and snapped.
"In a moment you will lay your eyes upon this year's graduating class of Modelland," the grand voice explained. "As you all know, only 7 girls graduate from Modelland each year, and these talented 7 join the ranks of the only famous people known throughout the world, the Intoxibellas."
Should it be like the aliens in Galaxy Quest? I love the people responding in the chat to the people who are listening to the theme song right now. I'm sorry. Okay, there's another super chat from Melena Kiss. "The theme playing in the background while you were Belladonna was perfect. LOL. Thank you." We're not done yet. Okay. Intoxibellas. The word sent an uncomfortable shiver up Tuki's spine. They were so dazzling, so enchanting, so beautiful, so influential and magical that they were simply, well, intoxicating. The voice grew louder and louder.
"Without further ado, I present the stunning, statuesque, strobotronic stars with stupefying stratospheric struts, the 7-7. Please worship them as the Intoxibellas they have now become."
A swirl of smoke and blue fire swept around the bottom of the mountain and spiraled to the top. As it traveled, the swirl revealed a translucent 3-dimensional image of a copper-haired girl with copper-colored eyes. Matching, I should point out. Around her waist flapped her Centura, the belt made of shimmering gold fabric that all the Intoxibellas wore. According to Modelland lore. Pay attention to the Modelland lore. Centuras allowed Toxibellas to activate their inherent power. Young girls all over the world wore replicas of them as part of costumes and dress-up games. Even Tuki had when she was 10 years old.
"Feast your eyes upon Evangelinda! Evangelinda!"
the Belladonna said over the cheering crowd. Evangelinda! Stupid. It's all stupid. Jeremy jerk. Stupid. The image of Evangelinda expanded from the fiery bottom of the mountain to the misty top. The luminescent eye hovered above her head like a golden crown.
Evangelinda's power? Chameleone!
What? Okay, they have powers, I guess, and I don't know what this word is supposed to be. It's some made-up word, I'm assuming, like chameleon, like she can, you know, blend into all sorts of fashions or whatever. Is it gonna focus? Focus. Yeah. I had it, and then I didn't. Chameleon. Focus! Damn it! Whatever, you get the idea. I don't know. Chameleonaire. I don't know.
Evangelinda's power, chameleone,
the belladonna explained. And then Evangelinda's appearance changed a dozen times over the course of a few seconds. Long hair, short hair, copper-colored, blonde, brunette, almond-shaped eyes, then doe-eyed, plump lips, bowed lips. Her physique morphed too, from a thin frame kissed by an hourglass to one with defined musculature. Then Evangelinda, she's a shapeshifter! She's a shapeshifter! You don't have to call it chameleone, she just shapeshifts. You don't have to come up with stupid words. Then Evangelinda shook like a dog, removing water from its coat, and her copper hair and eyes returned, as did her original frame. If I had her, I'd have a different girl every night, a man next to Tukey cried. I could stop cheating. What the fuck? What? Who is this guy? Wait, I have a lot of questions about this man. Shouting about how he would, like, totally have sex with this, like, the shapeshifter, and then he wouldn't have to cheat anymore. Like, what? what is cheating, man? He said the quiet part loud. The loud part Tom Arnold? That's my headcanon now, is Tom Arnold.
I want to be just like her! I want to be just like all of her!
A girl exclaimed. The belladonna's voice filled the air again. Next, meet Simone! The image of Evangelinda shrank, and the swirl of smoke and blue fire climbed up the mountain again, revealing another newly minted Intoxabella. This girl's hair was slicked into a chic chignon, and her eyes were piercing ink black. Simone's power, multiplicity! Simone raised her arms and swept them gracefully through the air. Two identical Simones slid out from either side of her body, sending a chorus of oohs through the crowd. Each Simone made a unique pose before being sucked back into the original. Simone. The spectators applauded thunderously, overcome with excitement. Tears of joy rolled down some of their cheeks. Oh my god, we're gonna get 7 of these descriptions. 7 of these descriptions. It takes 5 years to read this. Tukey felt a shiver. This was the first time she'd ever seen the Intoxabella ceremony in person, and it was even more magical than she'd ever imagined. Our third Intoxabella, Bev Joe! The belladonna roared. A raven-haired Intoxabella with sky-high cheekbones and a sharp jawline appeared above the crowd. Bev Joe's power? 30 never! When Bev Joe ages to 29, she will begin her next year looking again like she is 17 until she reaches 29 again. That cycle will continue until she perishes. 30 never. 30 never. I remember this from Top Model. They had one season where she decided she was going to give them all superhero nicknames with her great character, Super Smize, and she named one of them 30 Never, which means that she was going to make her wear pigtails all the time and, like, treat her like a baby. And then, like, if she wasn't wearing the pigtails, they'd get mad. Dumb. 30 Never. Yeah, I summon 30 Never and the Zodiac! What does that even mean? That cycle will continue until she perishes? Like, until, like, something kills her, she's just gonna live forever? A gray-haired woman on the ground made a face.
She's so beautiful, she doesn't need it. Give me that power. It's wasted on her.
Tell me about it, Mrs. de la Creme muttered, clutching the sign of her precarious face. Our fourth Intoxabella, Limora! The Smoky Mountain Swirl made a dark-haired Intoxabella with seductive narrow eyes. Her power? Excite to buy! The ability to sell! Okay, Excite to buy was also a name from that, like, that challenge. Is she just naming all of the Intoxabellas, like, after those random models from that cycle of Modelland? Maybe Chameleon was also one of the things. She's just using a challenge from Top Model to name these. This is fucking bullshit. I think this was from the British versus American seasons. I think that was what it was. It was one of the British models, was Excite to Buy. Limora made an inverted V with her hands and then thrust the point toward the spectators. Tuki touched her hair, acutely conscious of how wild it was. Chez vous mal, Tuki suddenly said aloud, feeling like an alien invader had taken over her thoughts. I need it now! Oh, she can control minds to buy things? This is insidious. Beside her, Mrs. de la Creme patted her face. I should pick up some more wrinkle redux. And similarly, everyone around them murmured other names of skin products, clothing brands, and diet soft drinks that they suddenly craved. Gentlemen, get ready for our 5th Intoxibella. Meet Cindy. Cindy. The swirl unveiled a platinum blonde with hazel eyes whose body swayed in a hypnotic dance. Cindy's smile was blinding, and her cintura undulated toward the crowd in a come-hither fashion. Her power? The belladonna teased. Seduction! Oh, fuck. Fuck this. Fuck this. Okay, here's how she spells seduction. Seduksheen. Seduction. As Cindy's hair blew in the wind, all the men in the crowd stared. I'm ready to sin with Cindy right here, right now, one of them yelled. Who is this for? Who is this for? Who is this for? This can't be. Is there top model hopefuls that read this and they liked it? Like, what? Who? Are there Modelland fans? I gotta remind you, I got Saskatchewan, that's good. I gotta remind you guys that Tyra Banks is currently, in the year of our Lord 2020, trying to launch a Modelland theme park. She has a website for a Modelland theme park. This book, it's based on this book. She is still marketing this particular story. Yeah, the one fan of Modelland is Tyra Banks. Tyra Banks wrote it for herself. Our 6th Intoxibella. This is stupid too. She's not even doing the paragraphs right. She one paragraph starts with Belladonna talking, and then the guy talking is part of the same paragraph, and then another paragraph starts with Belladonna again. You would need. It should have been spaced out. You don't have two people talk in the same paragraph. Our 6th Intoxibella, Katusha! You just keep coming up with stupid names. Katusha, said the belladonna. A cocoa-skinned, large-eyed beauty who, with close-cropped hair, spun in the air. Unlike the other Intoxibellas who wore the most fashionable couture, this Intoxibella wore an outrageously mismatched tattered blouse and skirt combination. I don't feel dumb reading this. Her power is Sixsensa. Her power is Sixsensa. S-I-X-X, no space, capital S-E-N-S-A. Sixsensa. A remarkable supernatural sixth sense. Thank you for explaining it. I'm incredibly stupid. Katusha can see into the future of fashion, which means this Oh, sorry, I need to read it in the belladonna voice. Her power is Sixsensa, a remarkable supernatural sixth sense. Katusha can see into the future of fashion, which means this unusual outfit will be on your body next year. Oh, and did I mention that Katusha has enhanced sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell? Did they have to add that? Because it's like, well, this isn't that impressive that she can just see what trends are happening, or... Wow, Tuki murmured. She wouldn't have minded having all those powers. As Katusha faded into the atmosphere, the belladonna cleared her throat. Unfortunately... Oh, sorry. Unfortunately, once again this year, Modelland has not produced the ultimate Intoxibella, a 777, a girl possessing all 7 powers. While this is disappointing, it by no means should dull the adoration you give our last newly ordained Intoxibella of the evening. Completing our presentation of this year's Modelland graduate is a girl who possesses the power of teleporting. It's just turning into Dr. Evil, I think.
$1 million.
Teleportaling. An Intoxabella with a pixie haircut and aqua eyes whirled into view.
Her name is quite fitting,
the belladonna narrated.
Exodus.
Tookie shot up. Exodus? Was that a sign? The sprightly Intoxabella fell backwards into an immense hole that formed behind her and disappeared.
Creamy, she vanished right before our eyes.
Miracle covered her mouth with both hands. Then something rumbled a few feet away from Tookie. The ground split, making a jagged Z across the sidewalk. It widened and widened, making the earth rumble. "Look out!" a woman to Tookie's right yelled. "Earthquake!" The hole grew larger and larger. Everyone stepped away from it, fearing for their lives. Everyone except Tookie, who tiptoed closer to the edge. Out popped a human-sized Exodus. The glorious creature posed triumphantly, then whipped her head around and locked eyes with Tookie and smiled.
"Hi there, what's your name?"
she asked. Tookie stared at her, tongue-tied as usual. Miracle pushed in front of Tookie.
"Miracle de la Creme!"
she screamed, assuming the Intoxabella was talking to her.
"You're so pretty!"
Then Exodus rose into the sky and flew back to the top of the mountain, reappearing seconds later in immense translucent form. The belladonna's voice boomed through the sky once more. "Every girl in..." There's periods after every word. "Every girl in the world has the power within her to become a 7/7. Is it you?" Fireworks burst around the Intoxabellas. The crowd cheered wildly. Several people fainted. Tookie suddenly caught a glimpse of blue beneath a bench. It was 2 feet, clad in doctor's booties. She drew in a breath. Lizzie? Tookie scampered over worriedly, not even bothering to tell her mother or Miracle where she was going, since they were transfixed by the spectacle in the sky. Lizzie was half hiding behind a bush, twitching wildly. Her eyes were rolling back in her head. Oh, I have another super chat. Elizabeth M. All these dumb names, and she wouldn't let Dion be Hulahay. Right? Hulahay was great. Thank you. Lizzie! Tookie cried, taking her friend's hand. What are you doing here? Normally, Lizzie didn't didn't dare show her face in places or so public or crowded. Lizzie just stared ahead into nothingness, not at all unlike Wingtip. Then she spoke in a drone Tookie had never heard from her, as if she was a medium at a seance.
"They took her last night by her feet. The burning continued through the night. They cut open her blisters and poured liquid metal into her veins."
What the fuck are they talking about? Okay, so this is because we're getting into Lizzie stuff. Just be aware that there was some self-harming stuff with her before, so I don't know if it'll get into that. I think it will, so if that is a trigger for you, here's a heads up. Lizzie then raised the cuffs of her pants, which were dragging on the ground, revealing feet that looked like they had been dipped in battery acid, with open sores that oozed pus. The area near her arches had 100 little cuts ranged in straight lines as if they were soldiers ready for battle. Well, there you go. "Lizzie!" Tookie cried. She looked around frantically, hoping someone could help her. "We have to get you to a hospital." Lizzie shook her head violently.
"No, I don't need a hospital. They'll kill me, but I do need you, Tookie."
Tookie clutched Lizzie's hands. Need me? For what? But Tookie knew what Lizzie meant.
"Exodus,"
Lizzie whispered oh so faintly. Tookie widened her eyes. A shiver went through her. "When?"
"Tomorrow, please."
"Tookie!" Oh, okay. "Tookie!" Tookie turned to the sound of her mother's voice. Mrs. de la Creme was standing near the parked cars looking annoyed. Tookie swallowed hard, then turned back to Lizzie, but she was nowhere to be seen. "Oh my God," Tookie whispered, running her hands down the length of her face. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. Lizzie had braved this crowded part of Metopia to find Tookie. Whatever was happening to her must have been even scarier than her burns and scars themselves. It was dire, a life or painful death situation. Exodus. Lizzie was leaving, had to leave, and she needed Tookie to come with her. For people who were not here, when we had the last Lizzie chapter, Exodus was their plan to go and open up a factory and make some orphans work there or something. They thought they'd have a mayor because they seem to think that factories have mayors.
You all right?
It was Wingtip. He stood behind Tukey, his face crumpled with sadness, the shoe slung over his shoulder. "Oh," Tukey exclaimed. She tried to wipe away her tears. I'm fine." Then she looked away, feeling awkward. It was so rare for her to speak to strangers. Usually they didn't notice her, and her mother's warning rang in her head. What if there was something wrong with Wingtip? What if he was truly a dangerous man? We have like a few more pages left till the end of the chapter, and then we'll call it a day.
What's got you so sad, little lady?
Wingtip asked. Tukey shrugged. "It's nothing, really. I'm not supposed to look at you, let alone speak with you. Not supposed to look at you." He chuckled.
"Nothing I'm not used to."
"Why do you talk to yourself?" Tukey blurted out, then clapped her hand over her mouth, fearing she'd been rude. Oh, Tukey rude? But Wingtip didn't look bothered.
"Little lady, when your world has been ripped right from under you, you tend to not trust much of what anybody says. Anybody but yourself, that is. And I do a good job of keeping myself company."
"Okay, confession time," Tukey said. "Sometimes I speak to myself too, since nobody else does."
"It'll stop you from going crazy," Wingtip chuckled.
"Crazy? Ha! My mother says you're crazy."
"Oh, does she now? Well, maybe you should listen to your mother."
"Nah, I think you're more sad than crazy. What is this conversation? What is this?"
"Smart little lady you are."
The man fiddled with the laces of the shoes slung over his shoulder.
"I know why I'm a sad sap of a man, but why are you crying?"
Because it hurts."
"What hurts?"
"Everything."
"I can relate to that."
I don't know what this is, but I expect him to kidnap her or like flash her or something. This is not, I don't. Tukey pulled her bottom lip into her mouth and bit down hard to keep from exploding into more tears. Wingtip leaned forward and pointed at her.
"You've got more important things to do than hurt, little lady. You've got a beautiful light that only a few people can see, shining brightly inside of you."
"A light?" Tukey repeated, hardly believing her ears. Perhaps he'd said a plight instead, or a blight. Wingtip leaned closer, offering a genuine smile.
"Go for your destiny, girl. Dream big. Take it from a sad and crazy man who talks to himself. Everyone's entitled to a dream, you know. Even you."
Oh, that's nice. Tukey looked away. "Dreaming is dangerous, though. It just sets you up for disappointment." He gave her a shocked look.
"Who gave you that idea?"
Tukey ran her tongue over her teeth. "My parents," she almost said. As more fireworks exploded in the sky, Wingtip sighed.
"Little lady, if you don't dream, you'll wind up not just talking to yourself, but answering your own questions, wearing last week's clothes, and walking around with a shoe over your shoulder."
He rose, slung the shoe onto his back, and gave her a nod.
"I'll be seeing you."
That's a threat. And then he slipped through the crowd, the old Wingtip shoe bouncing against his back. Tukey watched him for a moment, awestruck. Ah, the wise old Wingtip. Maybe he can give his dad some solid advice on not impaling yourself.
"How dare you abandon us?"
Tukey turned around and saw her mother standing behind her, Miracle's jerk garment bag in her arms.
"You dropped Miracle's dress on the ground, and the crowd traipsed all over it. What were you doing all the way over here?"
Tukey quickly scooped the bag from her mother's arms. "I'm sorry, Creamy. I was just..." She gestured at the fervor around them, searching for an excuse. "It's just, hard not to get caught up in this." Mrs. de la Creme blinked hard at her. A cruel smile spread across her face.
"What does all this matter to a girl like you, Tukey?"
Tukey swallowed. Normally, she would have wilted, turned away, and told Creamy she was right. But it suddenly felt like she just put on a steely coat of armor. Exodus, she thought. Everyone's entitled to a dream, you know. Even you.
"Everyone's entitled to a dream, you know. Even you.
Oh yeah, her mom's creamy.
You'd be surprised, Tukey said, emboldened, and then she turned away.
Bum, bum, bum. Wow. Well, I think this is quite enough for today. I read this trash in high school, and that detail was one of the things in the book that scarred me. I was waiting for Allison to get there for the reaction. Wingtip? What up with Wingtip? What up with that, dude? What up with it? Anyway, we still aren't at Modelland. You're right. We're at page 76. Yeah, 76. So that means we have just under 500 pages left. Yeah, we had enough. We had enough. All right, so I'm gonna head out for now. Thank you everyone for coming. We might do this again tomorrow if that sounds good with you guys. Then we can get through some more of this book. So I hope you guys can come tomorrow as well. We'll do it around 3 p.m. CST, same time. Yeah, let's do that, guys. All right. Well, this was a good time. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your days, evenings, whatever it happens to be for you, and I'll see you around. Bye.